Welcome to SAT video number 5. Here we're going to be implementing the rules and solving the next couple questions. So let's look at the next one. Based on the passage, which choice best describes the relationship between Putnam's and Lohmann's research? Okay, so as we've been reading, we read the first two paragraphs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read on to the next one. You could implement rule number 9. I know in the last video I said you don't always have to use, rule 9 is not going to be used here, but you could. It's asking you to find out where they're talking about, where they're talking about Putnam's versus Lohmann's research. So you can look here, the next paragraph, in the previous videos we've read a lot of through the first and the second paragraph. In the third paragraph, they talk about Putnam, and then in the fourth paragraph, they talk about Lohmann. So the answer probably lies somewhere there. So if I'm skimming and I'm trying to find where is it relevant, it's more or less there. It's a little hard to actually know that without actually reading through, because you can see in paragraph 5 it says Lohmann again, etc., etc. So it's not entirely accurate to say we can skim through, but it does kind of give us a little bit of gist of where we want to be. Okay, so let's read through paragraph 3 and 4, and let's see if we can answer the question. No, we want to try to establish a relationship between Putnam and Lohmann. So we want to know what's the comparison or the contrast between the two. So let's read through. So Putnam works in the lab of Ken Lohmann, who's been studying the magnetic abilities of loggerheads for over 20 years. Remember, loggerheads are the type of turtles that he's following. In his lab at the University of North Carolina, Lohmann placed his hatchlings in a large water tank surrounded by a large grid of electromagnetic coils. In 1991, he found that the babies started in the opposite direction if he used the coils to reverse the direction of the magnetic field around them. They could use the field as a compass to get their bearings. And this last sentence explains what Putnam was doing, right? He essentially came to the realization that they use magnetic fields to give themselves a bearing on their direction, so they can see what directions they were going, right? Then in the next paragraph it says later, Lohmann followed that they can also use the magnetic field to work out their position. And actually I don't have to read anymore. Okay? This is actually enough to decipher the difference. And notice how subtle this is. Okay? So Putnam is saying it gives them a sense of direction, and Lohmann is saying it gives them a sense of position. And those words they don't mean the same thing, but they're very close in meaning. In fact, we probably say one to mean the other. Okay? So one gives direction, the other one said how it actually goes a little bit further. It goes to denote position. Okay? Now, I'll be honest, if I was reading, I probably would read a little bit further. We've talked about that in terms of the rules. We may want to read a little bit further. So let me just read a little bit further just to see, hey, maybe there's some more information I can get from this. So the next sentence, for them, this is literally a matter of life and death. Hatchlings born off the sea coast of Florida spend their early lives in the North Atlantic, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I can see that it's talking about their safety. That's not really relevant to what the question is talking about. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go through the answer choices. So answer choice A says Putnam's research contradicts Lohmann's. No, there's nowhere in the text that it says that Putnam contradicted Lohmann, right? I'm sorry, that Lohmann contradicted Putnam. No, we said earlier that he included even more in the research. So there's no contradiction here. Putnam research builds on Lohmann's. Okay, so this is a little tricky here. So Putnam's research builds on Lohmann's. Okay, so Putnam had been working in the lab of Lohmann, right? So it's safe to say that he had been using Lohmann's work. It says later Lohmann showed that they could also use linear force to work out position, right? So this seems to be somewhat correct because he is working in his lab, right? If we look at C, Lohman's research confirms Putnam's. Okay, so this is a little tricky too, because it says Lohman showed that they, and looking here in the orange, Lohman showed that they can also use magnetic field to work out their position. So Lohman's research, you may read, because of the sequence, you may think that Lohman confirms Putnam's. No, but Lohman is talking about position versus bearing. So that's why it was so important that we read through that second paragraph, because that is actually, it seems correct, but it's actually not correct, right? Lohman's research corrects Putnam's. There is no correction. There's nowhere here that it says that Putnam is wrong. No, this line in orange is saying that there's something else that was found out as well, right? There's even more. There's more detail we can add. So this is incorrect. So this shows you how the SAT, what they do. You have to read very carefully. You have to understand tone when you're answering your questions. So hopefully this makes sense, and see you all in the next video.